Awesome. I hope you got your own PAC cookie. And I want to introduce our new PAC chair, Shelley Baldwin. And Haley Dale is here. She's secretary. And Denise Couch is our vice chair, who will be here shortly. And I want to go ahead and introduce Shelley and get the ball rolling. But I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight.
Hi, I'm Shelley Baldwin. Thank you so much for coming out and braving the traffic. I'm thrilled to see this many people on our first meeting. Thank you to Dr. Register for having a Parent Advisory Council. Not every district has this, and I appreciate the lines of communication that this opens up for us. And please, 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 eat those cookies and granola bars, because I'm not taking them home. So if you're being really disciplined and not eating before dinner, take them to go. A bunch of them, whatever it takes. We have got a fabulous speaker here tonight. His name is Eric Snow. He's from a group called Watchdogs. After he speaks, Ginny's going to get up and say a few things, and then Dr. Register is going to present a few things and be open for some questions. Let me give you a little background. I went to a leadership Train the Trainer meeting this summer, I guess technically it was, with Ginny's group, the Family Engagement Specialists, and Mr. Snow was there presenting his group, his organization, and the entire room was bowled over by the awesomeness of it. And I ran up to Ginny and I said, we have got to have him for our meeting. So I think you will be excited about it. What we're going to do is he's going to talk today for a little bit, and then he's going to come back in a month or so, and we're going to set up an actual training meeting for what you're going to hear about tonight. And with that, I will give you Eric Snow from Watchdogs.
Okay, so I heard fabulous and bowled over, and I was thinking, I can't wait to hear this guy. Who is this guy? And it's me. So, well, the speaker is so-so. The material is fabulous. What we have is a program that we believe, by the evidence that we've seen, is literally helping the teachers and the parents change the culture of education in America in the ways you're already working toward having it changed. Forming those partnerships is what you're all about here. PTA, forming those partnerships. We met at a PTA urban initiative that PTA has been going around the country. They invited me to be a part of that. In addition to being the executive director of Watchdogs, Dads are Great Students, I'm also a board member of National PTA, and that came about as our long involvement with PTA. And I do get to go around the country talking about this amazing program that I helped get started. I spent 19 years in telephone directory publishing. It'll be very easy for you to believe that I'm not a public speaker by the time we get through here, but I'm really not. I just had to learn to do this because in the last 5 years, I've spoken at about 250 educational conferences, and all those conferences have been state-level conferences, always school counselor conferences, PTA conferences, elementary school principal conferences. We've done a smattering of SRO conferences, Title I conferences, and Head Start conferences. And our genesis, the beginning of this program, came about through PTA in 1998, and it was in my kids' school. And it was March of 1998, and something happened that year in Arkansas, where I'm from, where I was born and raised and lived for 36 years with my family. In March of that year, there was a school shooting in Jonesboro. Who remembers that? And it wasn't the first school shooting. Unfortunately, it wasn't the last, but it was pre-Columbine. And it was the first time something like that had happened in our little state of Arkansas, which, who's had the pleasure of visiting Arkansas? Wonderful state. I love that place. It's my home. My family's still there. But with very few exceptions, it's just a collection of rural communities that has... at the time didn't have any of the things that we would have associated with an act of violence like this. We've learned a lot since then, but when these boys pulled the fire alarm so the teachers and the kids would run out on the playground, and they were laying in wait for them across the field and open fire, killing 5, we were sitting in our homes that night watching every single news station on TV broadcast from Little Jonesboro, Arkansas. And I was talking with a guy who I spoke with right before I came here. He called me. Just out of the blue, a guy named Jim Moore that you'll meet on the video here in just a minute. Jim and I are on the phone that night in our respective homes, and Jim says, I can't believe this happened, in Jonesboro. I mean, my gosh, of all places. And I said, I know, I'm right. You're right. I said, it's just crazy. And he said, if that could happen there, that could happen anywhere. And folks, I want to tell you something. We knew then what we know now, and please listen to me on this. We know that school is statistically the safest place for our kids to be, okay? Our educators do a wonderful job keeping our kids safe. But when something happens like that, like we saw happen at Sandy Hook back in December, as a community you have one of two choices. You either react or you respond, okay? And you know the difference, right? If the doctor gives you a medication and he says you're having a reaction, that's bad, right? If he says you're responding, that's good, okay? We wanted to have a response. We didn't want to react. And so Jim said, I just feel like I want to be up there tomorrow, to comfort the teachers, maybe make ourselves feel better. And I said, I agree, man. Whatever I can do, I'm with you 110%. He said, I think we get some other dads up there too, just to be eyes and ears and just, be just role models and just let the kids know they're in a safe, secure place. And I said, I agree. Whatever I can do, you let me know. It sounds like a wonderful idea. Thinking that's going to be it. And then he says, good, because I wrote a letter to our principal and I put your name on it with mine. I thought I should read it to you before I sent it in. And that's exactly what he did. Literally the next day, we found ourselves sitting in our principal office, Principal Jim Lewis, a principal that we knew not just as an educator and as our principal, but also as a father who already had a strong value that he placed on parental involvement. And we were talking to him about getting dads up there and how we were going to do it. And, he said, I'm all for this, but, let us run it by the superintendent first to make sure it's okay. And he went to Dr. Rollins, who's still the superintendent in Springdale, Arkansas School District. And Dr. Rollins, in his wisdom, as superintendents will often do, said, guys, just calm down. Okay, I know your hearts. I know you, and I know what you want to do, kind of, but you have to tell me what it is you want me to say yes to. I don't know what it is. So we went back to school, sat down with our principal, and he said, let's send a questionnaire out to the teachers, because let's find out, number one, do they want us here? And because if they don't want you here, guys, you really don't want to be here, trust me, okay? But if they do want you here, let's find out what they would have you do. Send a questionnaire out to all of our teachers. Had 2 questions on it, those exactly questions. First question was, what would you have? Would you like to have us here? Every single teacher, George Elementary, 550 kids, K through 5th grade, every single teacher came back in the affirmative. We would love to have a guy here during the day. We would love to have a father or a father figure doing something. And then we asked them if the answer was yes, what would you have us do? And they came back with suggestions that almost like they got in the same room and wrote it together. We'd love to have a father take part of morning announcements. We'd love to have a father figure in front of the school helping with car rider duty. I don't know what car rider duty is like in your school, but in our school it was mass chaos in the morning. You had all these kids, 500 some odd, being dropped off in a short period of time. Some parents don't understand the concept of drop your child off and move your car, right? Come on, let's go. And so you try to keep it positive, try to keep it safe, give high fives, hold an umbrella, whatever you can do. They said, we'd love to have a guy there helping us out. And they would love to have a guy in the library, a guy in the gym, a guy in the lunchroom, a guy on the playground. And so we got the okay to do this. And we got a few guys together. And the last 2 weeks of the school year, our goal was to have a dad there every day, a granddad, stepdad. My dad was one of the first guys that signed up. Jim's dad was one of the first guys that signed up. We had granddads on the ground day one. I knew a guy in school that had a screen printing shop, and I asked him to do a shirt for us. I came up with the name Watchdogs. Dads are great students. But it wasn't Dads are great students initially. It was Watchdogs, Dads of George students. We were doing it for one school, George Elementary. We got these shirts made. Of course, we're guys. We're going to have shirts to commemorate the occasion, right? So we had our shirts on, and we wore them the last 2 weeks. We had, probably close to 15 or 20 guys that volunteered. We had a couple guys a day, and we came in. Everything was fine. Teachers loved it. Kids loved it. Summer came and went. August, about this time, 1998. And we had a back-to-school event right before school started. And it was a drop-in where the teachers were in a room and they had the calendars or the schedule of their class, the roster on the wall, and they were standing there by it. And the kids and moms and dads would drop in and they would get ice cream and hot dogs, and they would go see who their homeroom teacher was for the first time. And was it going to be a good year? Was it already ruined because I didn't get the teacher I wanted? None of my friends are in my class, right? You heard that before? And so they had Jim and I, they let us have a table, and we just set it up there, and we had our shirts on, and we were starting a brand new school year, and we had about 20 guys already signed up, and we just started grabbing guys that we knew and saying, come on, man, take a day off, burn a day of vacation, come in, volunteer all day long, yes, all day long, and in return you have to buy a shirt, and no, you don't get paid, and doesn't that sound attractive, right? We had enough guys to fill that first month of school. And then we came to our first PTA meeting. And Jim Moore was the incoming PTA president. This was a weird cat, I'm telling you right now. Because we have a lot more PTA presidents that are male now than we had 15 years ago. I mean, our PTA, because of the effort National PTA has been doing, our membership has risen from 8% male to 22% male just in the last year. So we've moved that dial quite a bit. But we got to that first PTA meeting, and we decided that we were going to invite the men. And, I don't know what your PTA meetings, well, that's not true. I know exactly what your PTA meetings are like. If you've got 550 kids in a school and you get 12 adults, that's a great turnout, isn't it? We ran out of cookies. We asked the men to come because we said, well, let's make sure they know we're talking to them. And we really kind of just stumbled onto this. But we said dads, granddads, stepdads, father figures, come and find out about being a watchdog. We didn't trick them. We told them exactly what we were going to ask them to do that night. As I'm standing here tonight, I can tell you what it felt like when 150 men walked in that cafeteria door. And Jim and I looked at each other and went, holy cow, what have we done? Yeah. The principal was in shock. We'd never seen that many men in our school at one time. And we asked the guys, why did you come? We knew these guys. I mean, not like we were there all the time either. This was a new thing for us too. But we were kind of stumbled onto something. And they all said the same thing that we hear now when they do a launch event, because you ask us to. And what we hit upon was something very important. Schools are great at asking moms and dads. They're great at asking parents. In my house, when my kids were growing up, they're 21 and 24 now. But when they were little, you could send a letter home from school that said, dear parents, dear mom and dad. They could even say, dear Eric and Valerie Snow, parents of Zachary and Alyssa Snow. And if I opened it, you know what I would say? Valerie, there's a letter for you from school, right? Can't be talking to me. I'm the dad. If you have a chili feed and you need pots washed, you have a work day, you need something painted, I know my role, but I'm not going to be in the classroom, right? These guys came because they had to say yes or they had to say no. And we found out that night that they wanted to say yes. We had enough guys sign up to fill the calendar out, a dad every day, granddad every day throughout that school year, and the program just took off. We didn't even have a nonprofit for about 2 years after that when we finally formed one. And Jim quit his job and said, we need to help grow this thing if this many schools are after it. So it's be a great time for me to stop, show you a quick DVD. It's going to take about 10 minutes, but it's going to answer all the questions of what this program looks like in action. If somebody's got some lights we could dim, if not, that's fine, but we didn't talk about that.
In these challenging times, it can be easy to dwell on hardship and uncertainty. But in communities across the country, creative and generous people are finding ways to make things better. Tonight, the fathers bringing safety and smiles to school children just by being there. Here's Aaron Hayes.
What's going on?
Brandon Shields has gone back to school.
Thank you.
Countryside Elementary School.
Oh, another hug? Oh, thank you.
Where dads like Brandon are an important presence.
I'm Rick Zapata. I'm Sherrick's dad.
I'm going to be all over the school, but especially lunch.
They're among the thousands of men known as watchdog dads who take a day off work and spend it at their local school.
Trey, you found it? Good job.
It started very small, just two dads worried about safety in their children's school.
I really began to think about, well, okay, who's there that is making a difference and who's not there? And then it really just kind of hit me, well, somebody that's not there that could be there was me.
It sounded right.
They both volunteered at school, convinced other dads to join them, and the idea just took off.
It's called Watchdogs, or Dads of Great Students.
Watchdogs.
Watchdog. Watchdog. Watchdogs.
Watchdog.
Watchdogs. Watchdog. Watchdogs. Watchdogs.
Getting involved in your children's education can make a big difference in their success.
especially in middle school. In tonight's school report, KLMU's Shannon Hogan shows us how a new program for dads has Centralia middle schoolers throwing high fives.
The vision of Watchdogs nationally, and obviously here too, is to get dads and other male role models involved in the lives of our students, not only their own children, but the lives of all of our students.
We come in, we meet the students, we get a chance to interact with them, eat lunch with them, and hopefully help make their education a little better. To come in and be a part of it and be accepted by the teachers and by the students, and really to help with the education process here at the school.
It makes me feel safer to know that somebody is keeping an eye on the kids other than the teachers, and it gives the teachers a chance to kind of sit down and not have to worry about us as much.
One school has a new security program that it's not keeping a secret. It doesn't involve security guards or equipment, but it is an extra set of eyes. It's called Watchdogs.
It's a non-threatening person they might ask help when they might not want to ask their teacher, or they might feel like they could say to that parent, I'm really having a bad day, when they might not want to let their teacher or someone else know. We have dads out in the mornings as the kids are arriving, and they help us watch who's bringing kids, and they see kids get out of cars. They know kind of who's in the parking lot.
These watchdogs provide more than security, too. Many of these students have fathers who are away overseas, so these volunteers give them fatherly role models while their own dads are away.
Would see the look on their face and their reaction to you being here, then you would understand the feeling that a person like a male gets coming up here.
Most of the time the mothers are dropping the kids off or picking them up, and the father's always out working. But if you can get the opportunity to come and do it, it's a great opportunity to be with your kids and other kids also.
He takes time out of what he does to help me, and that means a lot to me.
It's just a way to spend more time with the children and put a male presence in their life. I mean, I hang out with her and her little friends, get to see them, get to spend time with them.
Anybody here, this is for you.
The push to recruit volunteer dads began at a school meeting late last week.
I was in charge of getting pizza for 10, and all of a sudden 200 dads were signed up, ready to come to school, and uncles and grandfathers and other significant male beings.
I think dads want to be involved, and they're looking for an avenue to do it, and they needed the structure and format. The mom can come in and kind of flow with things. Dads need to know what's going to happen next.
He's really funny and stuff, so he gets along with my friends at school and math and stuff, and all my friends like him, so.
When we have outside help, and maybe they can relay messages that we really can't get over, to the young male.
Well, I think that there's a great need to get dads back into the education process. They will go into the classroom that their child is in, work with the teachers, maybe reading to the class, helping with flashcards.
But this program will also help Hall with his job.
I can't be everywhere. I have the entire district to cover. I've got 5 buildings to take care of. Having that presence, if someone was going to think about doing something, maybe if they saw someone walking around, just being some extra eyes and ears, it might deter them from taking any type of action there.
As these watchdogs begin to patrol the halls, the big goal is just to be there.
Just be a good male mentor for kids in the school that don't have that male presence at home.
We've had uncles, we've had grandpas, we've had stepdads, anyone who's significant in their life.
We do a little bit of security, but mostly just being accessible and being role models for the students.
Having a male figure being out on the playground, throwing the ball around with them, and you get a lot of kids that just want to have that involvement with the man being out there on the playground.
I think that oftentimes they don't know how to be involved, and so this really is a good format. We give them very great specifics of what to do throughout the day and how they can be involved in the school.
Research shows that if a dad we call darken the doors of the school 3 times a year, that makes a huge difference. And most of the time when I see a dad, it's because there's a problem. And we want dads to be able to come to school when there's not a problem, when it's a positive situation.
We have brought the tie between the dads and the school back together. We've closed that loop. I think there was a gap there in the past, and I think that this program has helped feel dads that they are not only welcome at school, but that they are needed at the school.
And he'll sometimes do lessons of math or world history or just any subject. He'll teach it.
So your dad's pretty smart?
Well, the teacher kind of tells him what to do. So.
The dad finishes the day up and they'll say, Mrs. Borman, I feel like a rock star. I mean, it's a great experience for the dads and also the kids.
It's an amazing program for the dads to come to school and take time out of their work for their kids and to get the feel for what the teachers are going through, what the kids are going through, and just what the school needs help with.
It gives fathers an opportunity to be seen and vocal and more involved in their children's educational process. So many times mothers are carrying the load, and this gives fathers an opportunity to step up to the plate and get involved and be seen.
It works. Manzano Mesa Elementary is the first school in New Mexico to adopt the National Watchdog program, and it has exploded.
It helps that the kids know there's somebody they can go to, or just throw the football at, the recess.
Good morning, guys. It used to be having your parents at school was about as cool as having your mom dress you in the morning, but this new program is making these dads the heroes of the hallway.
We as fathers forgot what it's like to go to the 4th grade. And we think the 4th grade is like it was when we were in the 4th grade or when we were a junior in high school. This is a K through 12 program. When we go back to school and spend time with our middle school or senior high or elementary student, we realize, wow, this is not how it was when I was there. And there's a brand new level of appreciation for what teachers do. And dads walk out of there going, gosh, these guys got to get a raise. You talk about when things are tough and things are tight. This is the cheapest, most cost-effective capital asset we can have is the volunteer base of fathers and father figures. And I'll say it is for father figures tonight. In the greatest nation in the world, in the greatest nation in the history of mankind, 25 million kids, 40% of kids in this country will go to bed in a home without their dad.
Your model is so simple that it can be put in place in, rural America, inner city America, any place, any kind of school.
We had over 110 dads to the very first kickoff. And that's in a school that was 240 kids.
It is phenomenal. Seeing these kids' faces absolutely light up when the dad walks in. They love it.
Many report fewer discipline problems when the dads are around, and they bring skills.
I'll give you a little tip. Take the hammer, hold it down right at the end like this.
They just help out a lot, and I love it when my dad's a watchdog.
We need to really show that we're all here united for the kids, and we just have to always do that.
The great thing about it is I'm able to see my own children along the way.
Dads find it makes a difference at home, too.
There you go, baby.
Knowing what their child's school day is really like. And many who volunteer, dads and uncles and grandpas, too,
You got it.
are glad to be there for children who don't have a dad at home.
People ask me all the time, why has this been so successful? And the answer is really simple. It's the right thing to do.
You gonna be at practice tonight? Yeah. All right.
And that can make all the difference.
Okay, so what you think about that? Pretty amazing. Give those guys a hand. From that single school in 1998, we have grown a little bit. This last school year, we finished up with 3,054 schools in 46 states and growing. We already have over 240 schools launching for the first time this fall that are bringing the program on. So I think that's like 15% growth we're assured, and it's going to be a lot more than that this year. That means that last school year we had over 250,000 men nationwide that took a full day off work and came and volunteered in school. Make no mistake about this. This is an educational initiative. It's not a feel-good thing. It feels great. The kids love it, the teachers love it, and the dads love it. But what the Department of Education knows and what National PTA knows and what many of you in this room know is that a child that has a positive adult male role model actively engaged in his or her life is twice as likely to graduate high school as one that doesn't. And I want you to know this too. If we had a patron saint at Watchdogs, it'd be the single mom. And I also want you to know that it's usually a mom that's bringing this program back to her school. All those conferences that I talked about, that I've attended, that I've spoken at, PTA, mostly women. School counselors, mostly women. Elementary school principals, mostly women. They're the ones that are in the schools already that have seen what happens when adult male is there in the classrooms, being an encourager, being a positive adult male role model, and providing those extra eyes and ears. I had somebody, like 5 years ago say, this is a wonderful, anti-bullying program. And, we don't bill it as an anti-anything. We're pro-education, but it's a fact. Principals tell us that when you have an adult male, a watchdog, in the hallway, in the classroom, in the lunchroom, on the playground, it does provide an alternative male role model for a lot of these kids. At the very least, it's a deterrent to that kind of thing taking place. So I'm running out of time. A couple things that I want to tell you is this. If everybody got one of these brochures, take it home with you. Everything you need to know is on this brochure about how to reach us. If you didn't get a brochure, there's some back on that table. And if there's not enough, all you need to write down is fathers.com/watchdogs, or you can call 888-540-DOGS, D-O-G-S, 3647. There's a training course that's free that we run the schools through to bring this program on. You can have as many people in your school take it as possible. We especially want the principal to take it, school counselor, hopefully the parent volunteer that's going to be important on this. We walk you through all of that. We've developed a startup kit. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, but we know that schools want a plug-and-play program. We heard that time and time again. Folks, I'm not overstating this when I tell you we perfected it about 7 years ago. It's why we've had all this growth, because we can pass it off to a school, and you can see 22 schools profiled like you saw right there, and you can't tell when you're leaving one school and going to the other. One in Seattle, Washington looks like a watchdog school in Washington, D.C. There are 50 watchdog schools in the beautiful state of Tennessee. And so if you want to talk to a school principal in your state that's running the program, call our office. We'll let you speak to them. But this program is operated at the pleasure of the principal. That is our first and last customer. I want you to understand that, because we understand that it is an educational initiative. We want the principal to be able to bring these men in and utilize them in ways that already fit into the educational goals they have for the school. And we don't have a separate agenda. We never come into your school. We provide you with the support, and there's no ongoing cost. It's $350 to buy this startup kit and bring it into your school. And if it's Title I, that was a Title I school you saw there that had 240 kids and 110 dads that showed up, where Brandon was squeezing in the lunch table at the end. So Title I funds can be used for the kit. We can show you how to reach into your business community and get them to fund it if that's an issue. But I just want to thank you for letting me come here tonight. I don't want to run over time. I'm going to hang around till the thing's over with, so if y'all want to ask me some questions afterwards, that would be great. Just thank you for what you do as parents. Thank you for what you do as educators. And God bless you. Thank you for letting me come tonight.
How awesome is that? Now you can see why Shelley was bowled over, right? This is an amazing program. And so we really would love to see you all take this back to your principals and say, saw this amazing program. The reason you're here is because you were selected by your principal, so clearly you have a relationship with that person. Hopefully you feel like you can go to them and say, hey, I saw this fantastic program. There's going to be a training in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Would love to send a team to get trained on this model and get this started at our school. I really feel like this is something that we could do at every one of our schools. It doesn't really matter the profile, elementary, middle, high, whatever it's just, like he said, it depends on the principal and the vision of the leadership team and the parents in the school. So I'm just really excited about this starting this year. So I want to just take a minute to say that we have 3 other meetings this year. I think they're listed on your agenda, if I'm not mistaken. One of the things you got was a letter from Shelley. If you don't have it, we were giving those out. At the bottom of that letter is a space for you to write requests for topics for future meetings that we're having this year. We have 3 more this year here, and then you have them at the cluster level. If you have a topic that you are hoping to learn more about, or you feel is something you need more expertise on, or something that you just feel is an important issue of the day, put that at the bottom of the list, and the family involvement specialist at your table will collect that from you, and we will make sure to put those together and try to see what the demand is. So before we move on, I want to introduce really quickly your family involvement specialists that are here tonight that represent each cluster, and they're housed typically at the high school in your cluster, and they serve the families in all the schools in your cluster. They work hard every day to bring workshops, programs, a lot of programs like what you saw here tonight. They'll help implement that at your school. They are really a resource for you if you need anything at all. And so I want to introduce them one by one. A couple of them are not here tonight because they're at open houses at their schools. There's a lot of open houses tonight. We're aware of that. So Milton is here. Milton is with Hunter's Lane. And so he is, if anybody here is lost over here, Milton can take care of you. Here is Kevin McKenzie right here. He's with McGavock Cluster. Lauren May is with Hillsborough Cluster. Who else do we have over here? John Lane with Whites Creek Cluster. Edie High with Hillwood Cluster. Who else? Can we get Letitia Taylor is with Antioch Cluster. Eric Saviano and Adelina Winston are here tonight for our friend Ziad Ghazani, who is home. He's a single dad tonight. He's home with his 1-year-old. And so they're here for Glen Cliff. Jager Ali is here with Overton. Cam Wingfield is here with Cane Ridge. Who have I missed? Earl Lattimore is here with Pearl Cone. Anthony Hall is stepping in for Audrey Holloman and Derek Smith, who are here with Stratford and with Maplewood. I forgot to say Milton Nettles is here. So that's his last name. That's everybody's last name. I didn't say Milton's last name. So did I miss anybody? No? So this is an amazing team of people here to support you. Our boss is in the back. Tony Majors can stand up and wave and say hi. He's over at Sport Services, and so we're at one big department sort of taking care of families, communities, looking for partners for schools. So anything at all I can do to help, let me know. And so I believe our next agenda item is Dr. Register. Is that right? Okay.
Thanks, Jenny. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see a good turnout. We know that from checking with our schools, there are still a number of schools that have not identified PAC representative for this year, so it's really good to see this large a turnout. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad the word got around to you. We're looking forward to the year, and I want to congratulate and welcome Shelley Baldwin to being chair of the PAC. The cookies will work. That will that'll continue to bring people out, I think. Let me make a couple of other introductions for some of you that might be new to the group. We have already introduced, Jeannie's already introduced Tony Majors, who is the Chief Support Services Officer. Tony, you don't have to stand up again. He just had a full knee replacement about a month ago, so he's off the crutches and doing well. And Fred Carr is Chief Operating Officer. Fred, stand up. There you go. Dottie Critchlow, Executive Officer for Instructional Support. Dottie's coming to us from this year from principalship for a number of years in the district, and she's a great addition to our instructional leadership team. Susan York is Customer Service Manager, and if any of you have issues about communications, I hope you'll touch bases with Susan. And if you have questions about how things work in the district, I can't answer a lot of those questions, but Susan can answer them all. I promise you she can. And Meredith Libby, who's my assistant for communications, is here tonight also. So we are really glad to have all of those folks here. Eric, that was a great presentation. I expect you're going to get some business in Nashville. I think it's a great effort, and I've heard very good things about it, and thank you for taking your time to be here, and hopefully we can get some things up and going pretty quickly. Now, we have McGavock High School, the CMT Academy of Digital Design and Communications is taping tonight. I didn't know they were going to be here, but we have 2 McGavock High School students, and they're very special students. I have something in common with the 2 McGavock High School students. We're the 3 Jessies. And and we'll welcome the Jessie at the back of the room because she is in her first week or second week in Nashville and Davidson County from Schenectady, New York. Looks to me like you're making yourself right at home very quickly. So welcome to town. Thank you for being here. We'll hit a couple of other presentation points that I want to make, and then save some questions. Save some room at the end if you might have some questions. On your agenda, you see one that I can't talk a lot about, but we're pretty excited about it. There's a new initiative that's going to be available for our students in Nashville that I think is very significant. It's made a big impact in eastern Tennessee in the mountains, and in the Knoxville area. It really started with an effort in Knox County schools in Knoxville. by a gentleman named Randy Boyd, who owns the manufacturing arm of Invisible Fence nationally. That's his business, and he started something called Tennessee Achieves in Knoxville, or Knox Achieves. It might have been Knox Achieves originally, and it was to provide last dollar scholarships for students, particularly students in need who did not have funds available to start college after high school. We now have the effort, and there's also a presence of this in West Tennessee, and he is a full-time volunteer working out of the governor's office to try to spread this effort statewide. And we have a commitment from Mayor Carl Dean and from Randy Boyd to bring this to Nashville this year. Our students, particularly those who are financially in need of assistance, will have last dollar scholarships to community colleges and technical schools beginning next year. I want to say that Anna Shepard's here, who's vice chair. Where's Anna? Oh, there you are. I was looking right over you, Anna. Is vice chair of our Board of Education, who's here, and this is an effort that started actually a couple of years ago, the planning for this at McGavock with the McGavock Covenant, to try to make sure that all of our students who graduate from high school and want to go to college have an opportunity to do so. Nashville Achieves is taking that district-wide, and it is first 2 years, and it is for community colleges and technical schools for students who have need. There will be more coming about this. I'm sorry I don't have more information about it now, but it's a great opportunity to put hopefully several thousand of our children in college beginning next year with last dollar paid on tuition. Good effort on the part of Randy Boyd. He's a neat guy. We might want to have him come to one of the later meetings and do a presentation. I'll take just a moment to talk about our achievement results. Our data is coming out in not all at one time this year, but it's coming out at different times, and I want to take just a minute to I hit the wrong thing, to show you this. Next. Nope. What am I doing here? Yeah, which I thought I hit that arrow. Okay, good. To show you a little bit about our achievement results for this year. This is 4 years worth of data, or 3 years worth of data, and you can see TCAP achievement test scores. These are achievement scores, and for grades 3 through 8, these are big numbers of students. I think the thing that's most significant to me is that we're making sustained progress. When you see those trend lines running up for several years in a row, and hopefully picking up speed as we go forward, that's really what we're after. These are percent of students who are proficient and advanced. And remember, it hasn't been but just 3 years ago that our standards changed. Our standards in Tennessee have now been determined to be, Harvard Research, the second most stringent standards in the country. We were right at the bottom. And we moved to now what's been determined to be the second most stringent standards for our students in the country, behind Massachusetts. And so when those numbers, when the bar goes way up, there aren't as many kids that meet it to start with. And what's important is the trend line going forward. You can see how we're doing in reading and language. It's flat there this year. That's a statewide trend. That's a trend for, and I think there are multiple reasons for that, but we're not unlike the state in that regard. We are addressing reading and language arts very aggressively in the school system this year. Dr. Tammy Lipsey is a literacy coordinator or director of literacy for the school system, and we are ready to roll out a K-12 literacy initiative. That's a great deal of work, and it's really getting all of our teachers, about 5,000 classroom teachers, ready to have a consistent approach to reading instruction in our district. We have a new textbook series this year also in grades K through 6, and then a program in grades 7 through 12 that's from my understanding of it is very strong program. So we expect to see these numbers go up in the future. We're very proud of the math increases that we've seen. End of course exams for grades 9 through 12. English 1, English 2, and English 3. You'll also see a corresponding flat line for English 2. That's a statewide trend also, and I know our high school principals are really working hard on that, and we're looking at that as a need to address as we go forward. End of course math exams for grades 9 through 12. We're really pleased with the Algebra 1 results. Those do not include the 8th grade kids that take algebra in middle school before they get to high school. So you can see our percentages for, and those kids do very well. They're obviously ahead in math, or they wouldn't be taking Algebra 1 in middle school to start with. So those numbers are trending very nicely. The Algebra 2 scores are just being reported for the first time this year. This is one that's very important to us in Nashville. You know, we're the most diverse school system in the state by far. We do not have a majority race. We speak, I think, about 145 languages in the school system now, and our diversity is continuing to increase. Achievement gap is an issue that we have to address, and this chart might be a little bit hard to understand, but let me explain it this way. The zero line is the state average achievement gap for all the schools in the state of Tennessee. The green means that our achievement gap is that much. The green bars means that our achievement gap in Nashville is that much less than state average. We only have two or three areas where we hit just a little above state average on achievement gap. Almost across the board, we have a very in some areas half the achievement gap in this district that you see across the state. I am very proud of the longest bar there, 15.5 minus 15.5. That's students with disabilities in reading and language arts in grades 3 through 8. That's a lot of children, and the achievement gap's not nearly as big there as you find in a lot of other places. We need to eliminate the achievement gap completely, but this is, we feel like, a very good trend. Here's what our district status is. In 2011-12, we were in state restructuring, and that was there were only 2 school systems in the state that were in that category. Nashville was one of them, and you can see that the trend line in terms of No Child Left Behind status was going down. This year, for the second year, we're in intermediate status. That's not a warning status. That's because we showed growth across the board and also in achievement gap. You can see the numbers of districts, and there are only 37 districts in the state that are in the intermediate or exemplary status. The reason so many districts fall in need of improvement is because of that achievement gap statistic. And we're talking about a lot of subgroups of children here, not just 1 or 2. And so in many areas, school districts fall just below in one area or another. This is a good one. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We're in the exemplary or intermediate status, and most of our neighbors are not. I want to call a special recognition to our reward schools. It's the top 5% in the state of schools in one area or another, either in performance or in progress. Performance is achievement level. Progress is value added or growth, how much improvement's been made. And you can see we've got a good mix of schools here. Anyone here from Lockland Elementary? There are only 16 schools in the state that made the top 5% in both categories, and Laughlin's one of them. So we're very proud of what they've done. And that ends that part of the presentation. We can talk about that a little bit later, or the achievement results, if you'd like to see those a little bit later. Our ACT scores are out now. We're getting information, but we don't have as of the last time I was in the office today, we didn't have the final data on ACT today. Do you have calendars at your tables? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about where we are with calendar, and this is not a debate, but I want to bring you up to speed on where we are. Back in July, I had conversations with school board members about deferring the decision and getting more and spending more time looking at where we're going with the calendar for next year. We have a lot of differences of opinion about where we ought to go. As you know, we had a balanced calendar last year, the start of one, and frankly, it worked very well. We were disappointed in having lost a good bit of federal money that we intended to use to really provide a much wider scale intercession set of activities. But that's not the only reason for having a balanced calendar. There were other reasons that we considered, and we've used that calendar last year. This year, we also have a balanced calendar, and it actually is a fully balanced calendar. And the best way to describe a balanced calendar is you go to school for 9 weeks, that's a fourth of a year, and you take 2 weeks off. It's called a 9-2 calendar. And our calendar this year has 9 weeks from the time we started school, 2 weeks for fall break, 9 weeks. We end the semester right before the winter holidays. We have 2 weeks then, 9 weeks in the spring, 2 weeks off for spring break, and then we finish up the week after Memorial Day. That's the balanced calendar. With opportunities for intercession, and we actually had about 7,500 students who participated in intercession last year. That number will go up this year because for a number of our I-zone schools, our low-performing schools, we're actually using school improvement grant money to give them extra days of instruction. So we've got a number of schools, about 3,100 students, I believe, that will have, where every student will have 4 extra days of school in the fall and 4 extra days of school in the spring. The recommendations came out to the Board of Education to go to a balanced calendar. I personally am in favor of extending the school year. I would like to see all of our children have more days in school. Now, it's not an automatic. You've got to use the time well, but we have one of the shortest school years in the world for the high-performing countries in the world. And I would really like to, and I think we cheat on that because our teachers aren't in school enough extra days to do the work that they need to do to get to have 180 full days of school. And my goal would be to have 180 full days of school. The problem with that, for every day that we add, is a $2 million price tag. It costs us $2 million a day to operate schools in this district. So it's pretty awkward, and it is debatable. You know, we've heard a lot of difference of opinion. If you have $17 million, which is about the price for extending the school year, couldn't we use it better in different ways? And that's something that's an issue to be debated. But I personally think, you know, I'd really like to see us have 180 full days of school, an extra 9 days of work each year for teachers. And by the way, that's a really good recruitment incentive for getting the best teachers. When you have a longer year, that means a little bit more pay, and approach it that way. But finance is a problem. Funding a program like that is a challenge to us. We have a calendar committee. The calendar committee asked me not to produce another calendar to go with the recommendations that they made, and we took that to the Board of Education, which was a balanced calendar or a longer school year, if pending funding. Big statement there, pending funding. So those are the calendars that we took, and we talked about a traditional calendar also. Let me tell you, folks, there's some people who have said we need to go back to starting school the Monday or the day after Labor Day and end the Friday before Memorial Day in the spring. Well, you can't do that. What people don't remember is that when they did that, the school year wasn't but about 160 days long. You can't get 174 days in from Labor Day till the Friday before Memorial Day. If you cut the vacations and breaks to a minimum, you can't get enough time in there. So that's really not an option. This is a calendar that we developed in the office, though, that if we don't do a balanced calendar, this is a pretty good compromise, and I'll explain it this way. We talked about setting some parameters. So let's try to start a little bit later in the fall. And what we've said is let's start the first Wednesday in August, unless Wednesday's on the 1st or 2nd or 3rd of August. And if it's on those days, then we start the second Wednesday. And let's have one week for fall break, the same winter break, and 8 days in the spring. That's a week's spring break, and 3 days for intersession or extended time for students and for schools that want to provide extra time for kids, and that comes before testing. And to get out the Friday before Memorial Day in most years, about half. For the others, where Memorial Day's early, it runs into the next week. So that's an alternative. And I'll be glad to answer some questions about this. We could be here till 8:30 though, talking about calendars. And I didn't want to give it to you to debate tonight. But what I wanted to do was put it in your hands, because I know you are talking to other people in your schools, and to give you a chance to look at it so that you're informed about what the school board will be dealing with in September when they come back. A balanced calendar. This is a compromise, or the pending funding longer school year calendar. That is all I have. We've gotten off to a really good start this year. We're I don't know if we hit 83,000 today or not, but we're up over 1,500 students again this year. For the past 4 years, we've grown. I think 1 year we were about 1,000, and every other year we've been between 1,500 and 2,000 additional students each year, and we're right on track to do what we projected for this year. Fred, I don't guess you have a number, but I think it's 32,860 something, unless you've got an updated count. But we expect to go over 83,000 in the next few days by the time we get an official count. We're growing. We've got some areas of the community that are the county that are very large, expanding schools, and then others that are not, but a lot of growth. Shelley, that's all I have. It's 7 o'clock. You want to do a little bit of time for Q&A? Okay. Questions? Any questions or comments? Yes. Yes. That's correct.
to their best for TCAP and EOC.
Yeah, I think the question was, for those of you that couldn't hear, is on this modified calendar is if you'll look at March 2015, the 18th, 19th, and 20th would be planned intercession days, and that would be a time where we could provide extra instruction for students who need it. I think there was a recommendation that came from some parents in the discussion when we had public participation at the school board meeting, and some other recommendations about what to do in the summer or to do for other activities. I think another thing I would propose that we look at with this calendar is some kind of jump start or early start for English learners. Our English learner population is growing very quickly. Those students who are still actively learning how to speak and use English in our community. And something before school starts would be a way to shorten the summer for them a little bit and give them an opportunity to get a lead into the school year. That would work with the intercession time too. So I think there are some ways that we can work that. Again, I think shortening summer vacation is something that's very positive for children who live in poverty, for English learners, for children who don't have other activities or don't get to speak English in the summer. Having those long gaps cause them to regress. We know that. And being able to shorten that or to provide activities in the summer would be an alternative. Yes?
Will you explain what exactly happened with the vote? I mean, I know there was the call out to get public opinion, and then one of the options won, and then another option appeared, I guess, at this meeting, and everyone's confused.
So there were the opinion poll had three options. None of those got a majority. The vote with the greatest majority, or the largest number, I think about 45%, Meredith, you'll have to help me with this, 45% voted to return to a more traditional calendar. About 42% voted for a balanced calendar, and 12% voted for an extended school year.
Oh, so you made the fourth option based on the two
Right.
popular.
Right. Well, there were three questions. Is that right? You want to explain the poll, or did I do it?
Yeah,
I did it. So a couple of different ways to look at it. So you had 45% who said they'd like to go back to the old way. You had 42% plus 12% that wanted to do something different. And so the way we interpret that to the school board is there wasn't a majority for any one option.
So will the board vote then on the fourth option? What are they voting on? Which options are they voting between?
Well, we're going to we have a work session coming up before the vote, and we're going to talk about that at the work session without a consideration. That's next week, and then the board will have an opportunity to vote September 12th. September 12th, is that the date? 10th, I think. First official meeting in September. Yes.
I just have a question about their call out, which happened very soon after school started. From what I understand, all of the emergency information cards, the parents' information had not been in the system yet. So can you tell me, number one,
Yeah.
the information wasn't in the system, there's a lot of new people, and how many people actually were reached based on how many families we really have? So what percentage?
I'll let Meredith respond.
Sure, and actually, when we had this conversation a few years ago, we did it during the summer, and we got feedback from parents that was a horrible time to do it. So we waited till after school started, and actually waited till a few days after school started. We did have other ways for people to voice their opinion. We had emails, we gave us the telephone number, we did a lot of media outreach to get those out there. We put it on our website, and we ended up with our calls getting through, and I'm just working from memory here, so plus or minus all these numbers, but we reached more than 50,000 households. About 7,700 participated in the poll. And so we took those numbers and went to our research assessment and evaluation team and said, okay, what's the margin of error on an opinion poll with that, if our whole population is X, and we have a sample size of 7,700, what's the margin of error? And they said it was about plus or minus 1%. So you used the word vote. I tried to avoid that because, as you said, we knew that we would probably not be able to reach every household through the call, and that's why we tried to let people know there are other ways to voice their opinion. And yet our opinion survey did give us a really robust response in terms of margin of error.
What percentage of families is that compared to? How many families do we have?
I would have to check. Like I said, I'm going off memory. But, I think it was 8 or 9%, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to debate this tonight. And I know who I'm speaking to when
I'm asking about the reward status labels. Do those come to us from the federal government?
State.
The state?
Yes.
Reward and focus both originated in the state?
Yes.
Thank you. I just, I couldn't help but notice that all the schools on that list, maybe with the exception of 2, are choice schools. And as we think about parent involvement in trying to maintain sort of cohesion of our communities, I worry when the governor marches in and says, these are the schools you should be attending, and because I think we have excellent results in many of our zone schools. Should we be saying more about?
Yeah, we should. I think the reward status is a very, very small group of schools, and I think if you'll look at that list, you've got charter schools, you've got choice schools, and you've got zone schools on there. Not enough of any, but they're represented there. We're digging further into the data because we've got a large group of schools that are just on the verge of passing that. What we see, there's only one measure, there's only one cut score that the state determines. There's one point where schools are achieving or rewards as opposed to those that are below standard. And what we're doing is measuring at a deeper level, and we see a lot of movement. We have a lot of students, a lot of schools that have been very far down the list. And they're showing great growth, but they haven't gotten to that cut score yet. And so we're doing a lot more analysis on that as we go forward to really be able to show that. We have something that we've presented to the school board last year for the first year. It's a performance framework that takes into account, and it's a very good document that takes into account a lot of different criteria and evaluates school performance based on all of those criteria, not just standardized tests, but other measures also. And it's probably about 4 weeks until we complete that calculation for all of our schools. But look for that. And when we come back, we'll try to share that because I think you'll see a much more complete picture than just how many schools made it past that one cut point. And that's exactly what the reward schools showed. Yes?
One of the graphs that you showed that you said was complex to describe basically the special population.
Achievement.
Right. So I was curious about, was that a percentage point or was that a score relative to, I guess, the average on the test? And what is your plan for helping those groups in order to achieve?
It is a measure of the percentage difference, the gap, the size of the gap in percentage points. What percentage of students fall below a norm? And when I talk about achievement gaps in our district, what you have to understand is we're talking about most all of our children. Most all of our children fall into one achievement gap group or another. Students with special needs, English learners, students, economically disadvantaged students, students of color. That they're, all across the board there, you find all of those gaps there. And so the work that we're doing in the district, and in another week or so, you'll see a strategic plan, a new 5-year strategic plan that we're coming out with that addresses that. But our work is not about small groups of children. In a lot of places, you see when you think about achievement gap and a subpopulation, you're talking about a small group of children. I'll give you one small group of children we have. Native American, we have 65 in grades 3 through 8. 65 children. That's a small group. And when you go across the state and look at a lot of the achievement gap data, you're talking about small groups of children. For us, it's 65,000 children that hit one gap or another. So our improvement strategies have to address large numbers of children. And that's what Dottie Critchlow left. She knew I was going to point her out. But you know, when we look at a literacy plan, when we look at a K-12 literacy plan, when we look at a community school support system that Tony Majors is developing back there and putting in a lot of our schools, we're addressing poverty for thousands of children and providing a support system. And those are the things that we really, that's the way that we have to look at achievement gaps in this district. And so there's a very comprehensive plan for dealing with that.
So do you have a trend similar to those that you presented with the longitudinally for those groups, how the gap has been moving?
No, we don't. This is with the new standards. This is the first time that achievement gap's been a part of the state evaluation system for school systems. So we could go back and backwards track that, but we just have not done that. Don't have really the time to do that. We feel what we have looked at is this year's data, and what we see for all of those groups, those subgroups of children that we serve, we see growth in almost all aspects of that. So everybody's going up, and that's a good thing. Just we want it to be faster. And we feel like we have some things in because we still hover in terms of achievement a little bit below state average. We're above state average in a number of respects. So we've got to grow faster if we're going to catch up and pass state average, which is what our goal is. I'm going to turn it back over to Shelley now because we've run over about 15 minutes. Thank all of y'all for being here tonight. It's a great turnout. Appreciate you being here.
Dr. Register. I would be respectful of everybody's time. Again, thank you for coming out. Real quick, there's a little letter from me that you should have. If you don't, I think Meredith might have some more copies flying around here somewhere. Just some basic information, contact information for me. Can I get a raise of hands of who's on Facebook? No shame here. We're all friends. All right. Get on Facebook and find us. I have set up a Facebook page for our group, and I've written the name of it in there, and I've also set up a Twitter account. So I'm a big believer in communication and keeping everybody apprised of what's going on. I figured that might be the quickest way to do it. So I'll periodically, post stuff on there that I think might be of interest. If there's something that you want to know about, either post on the page or hit me on Twitter or send me a little private message or an email or call me. Any way that is preferable to you is fine by me. There's one other thing. Oh, take those cookies home. And I think that's it. We're going to that video that our fabulous Jesse and Jesse tag team made is going to go on YouTube because I know not everybody can get here for the meetings every time, and I want to make that available to everybody in case they missed it, or if you want to go back and review something. What did he say? It'll be on YouTube, and I'll put the link up on the Facebook page and on the Twitter, and we'll probably put it on the MMPS page as well. We'll put a link on there. And Mr. Snow is going to come back and do a training meeting. So go back to your schools and talk to your principals, find out who in your school would be willing to come to a training, and we will get that information out to you through the family engagement specialist. I'll put it on Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's it. I think we're good to go and take comments.
So if you want to stick around for a minute and speak with your family involvement specialist, if you want to start thinking about a cluster PAC meeting, when that might happen, what topics you might want to have addressed at a cluster PAC meeting, stick stick around and just sort of get to know both of your table if you have time to do that and think about next steps. Otherwise, we'll see you in November, and we're really happy to see everybody tonight. Let's have a great year. Thank you.